Hi. Good morning, Dr. Biswajith Baruah. Thank you for agreeing to talk to JDF. Could you tell something about yourself, please?
I am an orthopedic surgeon and I practice in Apollo Specialty Hospital, Chennai. The reason why I am here today to talk to you is regarding my other interests involving other than what I do normally in the hospital. So it's been about a couple of years since we've been working on a mobile app. The name of the app is Diagnox, and basically this app allows a person to quickly locate any diagnostic center in and around his place. Irrespective of whether he's at office or at home, they can quickly find the nearest diagnostic center, quickly collect information on the diagnostic center regarding whether it's rated, how much is it rated, what's the phone number, and quickly make a call right through the app, and then fix an appointment with the diagnostic center, arrive there, get his services done, and leave tips or comments for others, so that when other people can also decide upon the quality of the diagnosis. So this is where the Diagnox app stands today. This is not what we are trying to do. It's not the app or the product which is our goal. Our goal is basically to develop a network of people, doctors, patients and diagnostic centers, so that we can provide further services to this particular network of people.
Now, what struck us as interesting was a doctor trying to develop a software for an app. How did this happen?
Well, the reason I got into all of this was because I was involved with Ubuntu. Ubuntu is actually an operating system which can be installed on computers. Like Windows is an operating system, Apple has its own operating system. So Ubuntu was an operating system. The wonderful thing about Ubuntu was that how it started was way back in 2006 when it had just started. I was going to the website and it said, you can order CDs and we'll send it across to you right from South Africa. And that's where the whole program started. And I just put in my address and I forgot about it. I thought this is not going to come like this. Nobody gives CDs. This is in 2000, way back in 2006. And then 15 days later, I found a big packet of 200 CDs in my mailbox. And I was shocked, and I opened it and I found the whole Ubuntu operating system. And I said, here you have to buy Windows for thousands of rupees, but here somebody is sending you a free operating system. And that's how I got into the open source movement. Basically, Ubuntu is an open source. Open source doesn't mean free, but open source means the source code is available. Then slowly I got into computing, and then when we were doing orthopedic surgery, we had to do a lot of data analysis, research work. I published papers as well. As a part of publishing the paper, I found the difficulty was that in doing statistical analysis. So since I was using Ubuntu, I landed up with a software called R software, which is another open source software which is freely available and can do massive statistical analysis. All I did learn about R was to do that specific analytical work for publishing my paper. And the good thing was I did it. I wrote in the paper that I used Ubuntu and R, and the paper got published in a journal. And in fact, they asked me about the statistical work. Did you take the help of a statistician? And I replied back to them and I said I used the R software and everything is out. I can provide you all the data, what analysis, everything is recorded, and they were pretty satisfied with it. That sort of gave me a boost that you can do things on your own. You can learn things on your own. You don't have to depend on somebody else. So the same problem happened when it came to doing other things in the medical arena, and you wanted apps, and you saw a lot of apps were coming out, but most of these apps were being made by technical people, not medical people. And the most common example, the best app that is presently being used is Practo, and Practo allows you to book appointments and things like that. So when Practo started, they started with an appointment-based system. And in India, an appointment-based system doesn't work like the way it does work in the US. The US is 9 a.m. means everybody is there at 9 a.m. The doctor is there, the patient is there, the secretary is there, the hospital is running and functioning. But in India, it's not like that. It's not exactly 9. It may be 9:05, it may be 9:10, it may be 8:50, because of various reasons. Maybe there was a traffic jam, some politician was there, you couldn't come, the maid didn't turn up, a lot of issues like that. So appointment-based system doesn't work here. But how doctors have found ways out for that is that they say, okay, you come at 9, but you get your appointment as soon as you come. First come, first service. So you come at 9, you get at 9:05. Somebody else comes at 8:50, he'll get it at 9. So people have worked out systems like that. So when you make something like a software app, it has to replicate the locality or our situation. It cannot be based on what happens in the US. That's the problem we found with Practo right away. And if you see now, when Practo has come out with this mobile app, it doesn't have that appointment system at all. All that it has is other features. Why? Because they eventually realized that it's not working like that. So for that's indicated to me that they don't understand, the technical people don't understand the medical nuances of the Indian medical system. So you need somebody who's got an understanding of how the system works as well. So ideally, according to me, you need a doctor, you need a technical person, both of them to sit together and work together to build an app. But that I couldn't see that happening. The more I talk to technical people, they would say, I'll make this for you, but they will make something that they what they thought was a representation of the system. So that's why I had to go down to that level to make an app. And because because the tools that people use today to make apps and websites, these are all open source tools. They are freely available on the internet. All that needs is a little bit of understanding, a little bit of learning, and step by step you can get to a position where you can make an app by yourself. It's possible, it's done, doable. A Diagnox is a proof of that.
Yes, I do understand there is a lot of work that needs to be done between a technician and medical to get anything going, and that a doctor doing the technical stuff himself will add much more value to the app. Other than Diagnox, are there any other apps you foresee in doing in the near future?
Definitely, like I said, the app is not the goal, it's only a means to that goal. The goal is to develop actually a network of people. Everything depends upon a network. If you establish a network, then it works well. You take any good functioning system in the world, for example, you take any big hospital chain, it's not the hospital alone that works, it's the network of people that the hospital creates. The network of doctors, the nurses, the residents, the registrars, and everything else together that gives the value. So our goal is to build a network of people basically. And Diagnox is one of those apps. We have a lot of plans for other apps as well, because like I said, the medical system is not centered around one area. It has to be the doctor, the patient, the diagnostic centers, and the hospitals. All of them are individual components or cogs in that system, and you need an app for each one of them. But you have to start somewhere, and we thought the best way to start was to start with the diagnostic centers, and that's why we came out with Diagnox. But we are going to have apps for doctors as well. We have that in the pipeline. But we have to be focused on one thing, and we have to get that up quickly, and we have to make that successful. And based on building on that success, we can go forward and have other apps as well.
Now in Diagnox, you have listed out a number of diagnostic labs across India. How were you able to access this data?
The data is available on the internet. All that we do is it's a listing service. We have made a system in the back end where we have data entry operators. So the initial part, I wrote a script that downloaded the data from the internet and fed it into the database. But that is not possible because data is not structured in India. Indian data is not structured. In the West, all the data is structured. There is a standard format in which data is available, so it's easy to extract the data from the internet. So initially, with a few of the big chains, they have structured data, so that was available easily. And I wrote scripts. The scripts are nothing but instructions, computer program instructions that do the thing automatically. So I run it through the night, and by the morning we will have data in the database. We did that initially, but then we run into problems because of the unstructured nature of data. So we have a data team in the back end that keeps entering data based on a format that we have made for them. So there are a couple of changes, like here I can explain about how we made a couple of changes. If you see the naming system in India, people have got long names for hospitals and diagnostic centers. and they have many reasons for having long names, or they stick to the same name. They don't like to change the name because it was successful in one particular place, so you want to use the other name at other places. But name is not only for that, it is also for a person to identify that location. And when you have duplicity of names like this, it makes very confusing for patients. So what we try to replicate is how patients solve this problem. How patients solve this problem, what they do is, they take the name that represents that particular hospital. For example, say Apollo Hospital, they use the word Apollo, and then they add the location to it, like Apollo Alvarpet or Apollo Tenampet. So that's the system we try to replicate in our database as well. What we did was, programmatically we took a representative of the hospital and we combined it with the location. Location we got from the PIN code. If you take the PIN code, you'll find that there is a post office for every PIN code. And that post office name is usually the location area name. For example, Alvarpet has a PIN code. If you search for the post office, it will have Alvarpet post PO. So we remove the PO, we take that. So we do all this programmatically. So we combine the names together. So we get Apollo Alvarpet. So our listings are all fashioned that way, because that's what people want. People will identify based on how they normally do it on ground. It's not how we imagine it in the boardroom. So the challenge is that, basically replicating what Indian people do and how to get that process into the of an app. Of course, as we expand, it's not possible for one person to do it all alone. So we are setting up a dev team, like we have a database team. We are setting up a small tech team which will work on this. We'll give directions, we'll work together. So once we work together, we can get something successful and working.
See, the other problem as far as labs in India goes is that there is no standardization. Some of them are NABH certified, some have different certification schemes, and some are not certified at all. Would this kind of description come in your app?
Definitely, that's the whole purpose of doing the listing. When we do the listing, we don't do it alphabetically. We do it in terms of a rating. And the rating takes into account whether it is NABH certified, whether it's NABL certified, and also based on what past users have to comment on it, how many users have been to it, things like that. We are developing a ranking system, the ranking algorithm which will rank the labs, but primarily it is according to distance, but it also takes into account all these features. Because it's important to bring all the quality labs up. We cannot say only one lab is the best, but the quality labs must surface up in the ranking system. That's the purpose of the listing.
Do you think this app will be very popular in our country?
Well, I don't know. That's what time will tell us. That's why one of the reasons is, when we do something like this, we don't do it in a massive scale. We do it on a small scale. We implement it and then we see what is the response of people. Normally what we have found is that locating labs and things like that on the map has not been very popular here. It's probably picking up now, but it's yet to pick up. What people normally do, especially in the healthcare system, is they go by word of mouth more than by looking up all by themselves. Of course, Google is there and things are there, and practice is a proof that people do search on the net for options, but only time will tell whether this will work or not. But we are not giving up like that. If Diagnox doesn't work, we'll modify it to suit what the person on the ground requires. That's the goal. That's why I said the app is not the goal. That's only a means, and it's maybe one of the steps ahead to reach ahead to the goal of building the network of people. That's what we are concentrated on. If we have a network of people, then we have data, and it's the data where the value lies. It's not the it's not the app. Today you might have a mobile app. Tomorrow you may not need a mobile app. You might need a watch app, because nowadays you have watches. You might have trackers. Now you have trackers that do the tracking business automatically. So maybe you will need to have an app for that. You may not need a mobile app as well. Or like, for example, you must have heard recently about how Myntra is a big fashion retailer, and what they did was, about a couple of years back, they said we don't want any more desktop. So they stopped doing desktop transactions and they had only a mobile website. But just 2 days back, they switched over now. They said, no, we are going back to desktop now. So things are very, they keep changing in the technical world. It's very fast. So you have to keep up with that. You cannot be fixated and say we'll have only mobile apps. We'll have desktop versions, we'll have mobile versions as well. So we need to choose technology that can enable us to adapt to the present situation. So we go along like that.
Now, rating a service in India is not as popular as in the West. Like most people in the West would immediately write a review of a restaurant or a service, they rate it, and they make comments about it. Do you think that practice will catch on, and will that be helpful?
I'm not sure about that, about whether a rating system works or not. That's why for us everything is an experiment. We put out things there and we check whether people are using it. If people don't use a rating service, we have to do something else. So our algorithm does not depend just on the rating system. We also look at whether they NABH qualified, whether they NABL qualified. If it's a pathology, they have a pathology certification as well. We look into those things as well. Plus, of course, there has been also the commenting and rating system being manipulated. Nowadays, in the internet, we know that there are certain private groups will have, they'll appoint 100 people to write bad reviews about a particular rating system. We've had this feedback being given to us as well. That's why in our feedback system, we don't say give comments, we say give tips. We do things like that. We say give tips. So when you say give tip, you obviously have to give a tip, means you have to comment positively. That's the first criteria. We also have filtering mechanisms right away in the programming itself, so that any kind of negative comments can be filtered out immediately. People might say, well, that doesn't help, because if somebody wants to criticize the service, then they're not allowed. But what we found is that when people are anonymous in the internet, they tend to be more aggressive and more volatile. You would have noticed these in the YouTube commenting system or Twitter sometimes. People get very aggressive when they are anonymous. So that's why our system doesn't allow you to comment unless you identify yourself. So the first thing is identify yourself. That is, you'll go through an authentication process. Once you do that and you identify yourself, you are usually toned down. And then we have this, instead of a commenting system, we have a tipping system. You tip, so you tell others what is good in the system. That's why our ranking algorithm does not entirely depend on the tipping system. We also take into account a lot of other factors. And we give them weightage to each one of them is different. And that we do it programmatically. We keep changing that based on what their response is.
Do you have any words of advice to young doctors who are starting their careers regarding use of mobile technology?
Certainly. I mean, the technology has exploded actually, and if you look at America, they have started a program called code.org. That's a website, and President Obama has been really pushing forward on this one. What they are doing is they are teaching coding, that is how to code, right from the small primary school, primary grades. And they're doing that because they understand the quality and the value that lies in being able to code. If you can code, you can control machines. That's what you can do. And if you can do that, you can get a lot of automation in your life. If you can get a lot of automation, you can get a lot of things done. That's the reason why more and more people are getting into coding, and they realize that the value of it, and that's why they're starting so early. What I perceive coding will happen is that it will become like one of the art skills, right? Mathematics and plus coding. I think coding is necessary. And actually the softwares that we have allows to a certain extent some manipulation. But if you can do a little bit more coding, it's possible to achieve a lot of things. You can do that, and that should make life more easier. So I think coding is one of the skills that will be required in the future. And if someone is interested, it's not very too difficult. It's easy. You need to put a little effort, and you can. In fact, there are courses available in the online system like Coursera, edX. They have a lot of courses available online. If you take up an early course, you can get into coding very easily.
It was very interesting to talk to you, Dr. Biswajith Baruah. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think the most important thing is data analysis. The amount of data that we are producing today is tremendous, especially in the medical field. There's a lot of data being generated. But what is happening is that we are not capturing that data. If we capture that, if you have a mechanism to capture that data, analyze it, then we'll have a lot of solutions to the various problems that our community faces. And I think there's a urgent need to do that. and for that reason it's important that you learn a little bit of coding. If you don't learn it yourself, at least you need someone who can do the coding for you, and that is open source software like R. In fact, some people may think because it's available freely, it's not up to the mark, or it's just a toned down version of the actual thing. It's nothing like that. R is used for some of the top analytic company use R today to do the analysis. So R is good as far as analysis is concerned, and I would strongly urge the medical community to look into R and use it for analysis.
Thank you very much, Dr. Biswajith, for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.